It's Pokemon Colosseum.
We're back.
Check it out. Grinding has occurred.
Well, this isn't my party. These are just the guys that I'm about to purify. So I spent probably like 3 hours at Mount Battle, just loosening the shadow gauges of my team and leveling up my guys a little bit. So
loosening?
Yeah, you see, you can loosen the door. This is when you go in here. It says the heart gauge. So when it's full of purple, and that's when it's like max shadow. And it will only at that point know Shadow Rush, which is like a typeless attack that they all know.
I see.
And then as you like make it come to its senses more and more by battling it and calling its name when it like goes ballistic.
So basically you have to have a bunch of really boring fights in order to make your Pokemon
and it's not fun. And if you want to get Ho-Oh at the end of the game, you have to unlock the hearts of all of your Pokemon and make them all normies.
Well,
so we're gonna go through and unlock them all.
This seems like a tireless nightmare.
There just isn't enough games. There isn't enough battles like ingrained in the story mode to be able to grind. But there is Mount Battle, and you can like talk to some trainers and battle them again.
Sucks because you have to start from like super low. The early trainers are lower level than your starting Pokemon.
And the first zone that you fight in, like they're level 16, and it's just like it's baffling to think about how this could actually exist. Like, there's 100 trainers who just spend their entire life with like level 16 Pokemon, even though their job is to battle every day. Like, when did their Pokemon ever get stronger, or do they just always lose because they're shit?
Who knows? I mean,
do they fight each other?
By the way, so the resolution of what happened on the previous episode, because you may remember that like we had you had lost to, it was like you had to do 2 battles in a row, and you had won the first one and lost the second one, but it hadn't like made you restart or something. You were just like trapped in a version of the game where nothing could happen. And
I guess I wasn't though. I guess that if you just like found the particular spot in the fence and like clicked A on the particular
someone
spot.
said that. I don't know what they meant, but you had also looked up and confirmed that the game has a glitch like that.
Yeah.
That like if you the game like just doesn't account for you not winning that second battle.
Yeah, in certain instances.
And so it's just
I
broken.
didn't. Okay, I just like looked it up and didn't find anything. Like, there's like nothing. So
I thought you had looked it up and seen somebody saying that or something.
I know that there are certain parts in this game where that would happen, where there isn't like I didn't know if it was like in that particular spot though. Should I teach this guy Stomp? I guess I didn't. I don't think Stomp is that good of a move.
Well, so you can nickname them once they're purified.
Yeah.
I see. Hope in your heart.
If you think of any good nicknames, let me know.
Blowhard, Blowjob, Blowman, Big Blow, Stack of Blow. Don't give him a name.
Okay. I just wanted to make this like as painless as possible because
it's a lot.
A lot of these guys are not gonna be guys that I use.
Are you gonna use Entei?
I thought about it.
It's really funny that you even have Entei because he's so like you've got like
so
regular ass Pokemon
and
then a fucking legendary like just there.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Yeah, so the other day we were going to record one of these and you were like, I gotta do some grinding first. And I was like, I gotta do this Mega Man recording, so I'll do that while you grind. But then I just got inspired to rearrange every room in the house, and I did that instead. And it was amazing how long the grinding took. That like in the span of the like 3 hours that it took for you to just grind these Pokemon up, I rearranged the entire upstairs of the house.
Yeah.
But yeah,
video games are a waste of time.
This game is certainly a waste of time, but it's also a game that we play on a show.
Yeah.
So it's not a total waste of time.
I mean, no Pokemon games are actually a waste of time. Pokemon makes the soul
How
grow.
how does it feel to know that this show we do where we talk about interesting topics and bare our souls and like really share our innermost thoughts and feelings over a nostalgic game that is it's colorful and fun to watch, that the view counts can be completely obliterated by a 1.5-minute clip from a live stream called Thoughts on Goblin Slayer?
How does that make me feel?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Because I know how it makes, like, this is also my content, and I know how it makes me feel, but it's also your content, so I'm curious how you feel about, like...
Well, I'm really glad with the reception of the Goblin Slayer videos, because I think it's fucking hysterical. I mean...
I'm glad you think so.
You have to be invested in the narrative of Pokemon Colosseum and in Digi and May, and that's kind of, like, really strict criteria for a show. Right. So like I understand. I'm excited that 2,000 people watch these.
It's a matter of taste.
Yeah.
It's that if you okay, how do I put this? Like, as an entertainer, I appreciate that, like, the money is in the audience. What does the audience want, But I do think that I don't know how to phrase this other than I hate everybody. But, like...
I hate everything.
So, I enjoy making, like, overtly cynical, like, content that is hilarious and memey. Because, like, there's... Okay, here, let me pull this back a little bit. I'm the guy who figured out that the title and thumbnail were all that mattered. Mm-hmm. Like... There had been a lot of people who talked about, like, what is the key. Like, everyone's been constantly trying to crack the code on, like, what is the key to YouTube success. And a lot of people think it's a certain type of video, or they think it's a certain structure or a certain length. And, like, when MatPat cracked the code on PewDiePie, it was a huge deal, because it made everybody realize that watch time really mattered a whole lot. And that frequency of uploads mattered a whole lot. And so everyone started trying to make 15-minute videos of a certain length. And then most people just tried to go for, like, what MatPat was doing, because it was working for him too. But, like, what everyone was forgetting is that PewDiePie's videos are just fucking vlogs. It's just him playing a game for the most part. Like, what made him famous. Yeah. It's not what it's like anymore. There's a little bit more editing, but, like... It's still like, it's minimal effort content. The only reason his videos blew up is that they had catchy titles and thumbnails, like they had over-the-top, audacious, all-caps titles, usually about relevant games that people were talking about, and he'd make 10 videos of him reacting to Slender Man or Five Nights at Freddy's at the height of those games' popularity. And that's the real reason. Like, yeah, the watch time and everything is why he grew so big, but, like, why did people click on the videos? Because there was a funny face reacting to a thing that everyone cared about, particularly young people who are not so concerned about quality, necessarily. And when I say young, I mean real young. Everyone has this, like, stereotype of the 12-year-olds. No, I'm talking about the 7-year-olds on YouTube.
There are like 5-year-olds that watch YouTube.
Right.
Like,
especially someone like PewDiePie. Yeah. Or people who are like the kids who are into fucking, like, Slender Man and Five Nights at Freddy's. A lot of them are like 10, 9. Yeah. I'm sure your cousin probably watches that kind of shit, and he's like, what, 10?
God, he's like 10 now. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure
I remember
he would watch
holding him as a baby, like right out the womb.
Yeah, you're gonna feel a lot of that in the future.
I know.
Going forward, I watched all of my baby cousins grow up.
What makes me feel really old though is, like, knowing people who are dying or dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot.
It is.
Not that that's funny. I don't know why I laughed.
So what the fuck am I trying to say? The title and thumbnail is all that matters, and, like, I proved this to everyone I knew, like, God, it's got to be almost 3 years ago, and I know I've talked about this a bunch of times, but I made this video called How to Make a Successful Sword Art Online video, and I literally, the answer was, put Sword Art Online in the thumbnail and title. And it's just like a several minute vlog of me just explaining that the thumbnail and title is all that matters. I don't even talk about Sword Art Online in the video, but the title is How to Make a Successful Sword Art Online video, and it has a picture of Kirito that's funny, you know, and like it had like 60,000 views, and I had said, like, I made a bet in the video, like, I guarantee you this will get like 50k views in a week, and it did. So like when that happened, like, a lot of my friends didn't want to believe it, but then like they changed their titles and thumbnails and started getting way more views. And like I gave this to Mother's Basement. I said, like, dude, like, you're doing like the right kind of videos, but your titles and thumbnails suck because you put what's in an OP name of show every time, and then it's just like some barely comprehensible thumbnail with your shitty cartoon avatar on it. I was like, you need titles and thumbnails. But because I know that, I think the funniest thing in the world is to make like the most sellout thumbnail and title imaginable, and then make the video as garbage as possible. Yeah. Because anyone who's smart enough to know that's how the YouTube game works is just gonna not click on, like, okay, if you're making a video about Goblin Slayer, like, the only people who are gonna care are either people who just want to hear you talk because they're interested in you, or people who care about Goblin Slayer. People with no taste is what I'm saying. So, like, I'm not worried about making a good video for the people who are gonna click on a video called Digi's Thoughts on Goblin Slayer. The reason I titled it Digi Bro's Thoughts on Goblin Slayer is because I just knew that would be even more, like, incendiary. Like, oh, Digi Bro's throwing his hat into the conversation on Goblin Slayer. And, like, it's especially funny because I never would have done it if not for the fact that, like, someone had asked me about it in the middle of this stream, and I had talked about it for a little bit, and I thought it was kind of funny, and I was like, I bet I could just clip that out and get 20,000 views. And that's exactly what happened. Yep. And, like, it's like the rules of the YouTube game are so transparent, and it's really funny that everyone wants it to be more complicated than it is. Because you want to believe that integrity has some meaning on YouTube. But it doesn't. It only has meaning on Patreon. And the only reason that I do anything with integrity at all is because I mostly have Patreon. But, like, when I do stuff like Thoughts on Goblin Slayer, that's not for my patrons. I know they don't care. You know, like, they probably saw the original live stream. If they're, like, someone who's really diehard, like, they might have watched the live stream recording on I Am Games. But, like, you know, for the general public, it's just like, hey, I bet I can, hey buddy, I bet I could get 20,000. It literally was like that, like the way I pitched it to you, and like you at first were like really against it. Out.
I was like, yeah, you probably could, but like, why would you? And then I thought about it. I'm like, why wouldn't you?
Right. It's literally just and part of it was also that I knew it would advertise I Am Games. Like that was like one of the motivations, because it was like, if it was just to get 20k views, it wouldn't have been worth it. But the fact that it was a clip from the stream and I could just advertise the stream, which worked, gained a bunch of subscribers on the channel because of it. So, like, you know, so it had like a noble purpose in the end. But then when I saw the response to it, I just thought it was so funny, because it's like, guys, why do you care? Like, why do you care about my thoughts on Goblin Slayer that I clipped from a live stream where I'm literally saying I didn't watch it? Like, I say that.
Yeah.
And on the latest video, someone left the response that I feel like I was waiting for, and I kind of might make a video restating this, or maybe I'll just clip this out of this Let's Play and use it as an ad for this Let's Play. Something I don't understand is when people say, like, well, you have an important voice in the community and people will just parrot your opinion, so we care about what you say. if anyone parrots my opinions, just disregard them because they're a child. Like, do you not understand? Like, if someone's, like, just parroting the things that some popular YouTuber says, they are an idiot. Like, why do you care what that person thinks? Why do you care if my opinion sways these people? Like, those people, you already know that they're dumb. You already feel that way. So why are you even annoyed? Like, I wouldn't listen to someone who was parroting my own words, you know? I've gotten mad, and, like, I have no control over it. You can't control the way people are going to interpret your shit. It's just like how, you know, you can't say that video games make you violent just because a guy shot up a school and said it was inspired by Doom. It's like, or that you can't say Taxi Driver is a bad movie because a guy tried to kill the president because he thought, what was it, Jodie Foster? Is that who's in that movie?
Yeah.
Was trying to talk to him. Like, some people are just gonna take things a weird way. And, like, there was one time, and I know this is exactly why people were mad about this video, because I did the most boring taste in anime video, and my brother Shade told me that some kid at his school who literally was like a Digi drone, like someone who literally was parroting my opinions, was like
from
saying,
his school?
Yeah, from his school. He knew a Digi drone at school, in like high school, in like his tech, like his AP class or whatever, and this kid was like saying that he wasn't going to watch one of the shows that I had on that list because it was on that list. That like, oh, it's pretentious and boring. And I was like, now, if you pay attention to the most boring taste in anime video, I say in it, these are all good shows. Like, if you like these shows, you don't have bad taste. But the point I was trying to make was that a lot of people try to create an identity of being someone with good taste by choosing shows that they know nobody disagrees with. Like, nobody's going to tell you Legend of Galactic Heroes is a bad show because nobody thinks that, you know? Like, and if they did, they would get blown the fuck out because it's like you can't make that argument. And like, there's lots of shows that, like, a lot of the shows I love, you are putting yourself at social risk by saying you like it. You know, like by saying you like K-On!, a show that even if you know for a fact is masterfully crafted, and if in its country of origin is highly respected, if you know in the Western anime community that this show's not respected, you're gonna get shit for liking it. And still to this day, every time I shit on a show, some defender of that show is gonna say, oh, it didn't have enough tea and cake for him. It didn't have enough cute girls sitting around talking. He's K-On! Fag. It's like, okay, whatever, you know, but like, if you're not willing to put yourself at risk and be honest about what your taste really is,
then what's the point of even liking anything?
Right. And so, like, when I go into a 3x3 thread and all I see is people with the same, like, super safe shows on their 3x3s, it's obvious what they're doing. They're trying to look like someone with good taste. And it has nothing to do with whether their taste is good or bad. It's just what they're trying to communicate about themselves.
Yeah,
and that was the point of my video. So, like, but I understand that, yes, there are dumb kids who will watch that video and their takeaway will be, Legend of Galactic Heroes is pretentious and boring. No, not my point. But I can't control the way people react. Now, with the Goblin Slayer video, in the video I say I skipped through and that I wasn't paying attention and that I didn't care. So when people are like, oh, well, it was actually like this. Maybe if you paid attention. It's like, guys, of course if I'd paid attention it would be different. I said I didn't pay attention. I said that. I said I skipped through. I said I didn't understand. You know? Like, it's not as though I said, oh, this is what the show is. I said, I don't understand. Why don't I understand? I didn't pay attention. I said that. You know? So, like, when people are like all trying to correct me and stuff, I'm just like, this would be really funny to double down on, you know? So like, cause it's like there's enough response that there's clearly people who are gonna come back for the second video, you know? Like, people clearly care about this thing, and I know why they care. It's because the people who care are this really intense group of people. They're a lot in common with the gamers. A lot of them probably are gamers, especially tabletop gamers. Gamers feel very threatened that their identity is at risk because of social justice warriors. Because when SJWs complain about the shit in media that they don't like, and then media changes to kowtow to them, then these other people get mad that they feel like the art that they love is being tainted by this outside force.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I think that most of the time when people are like, oh, this company changed this thing to kowtow to SJWs, what a bunch of, like, you know, like, and everyone gets into arms about it. It's like, yeah, but it's not a game you would have played anyways. Like, what, you're mad that Assassin's Creed is kowtowing to SJWs? Who gives a fuck? It's Assassin's Creed. It's a normie game. Like, this is not your hill to die on. And, like, there's also a huge amount of counterforce of people deliberately making stuff that is the opposite. Like, you can be mad that Dead or Alive isn't going to have as much tit shake. Although, from what I heard, they actually said they were going to make it more realistic, not necessarily less. So we'll see how that actually eventuates. But like, you can be mad that DOA was taking out titty shaking, but like, there will be another game that will be made with bouncing tits for that audience, and it'll probably be more extreme than DOA ever was. Because there's always going to be a counterweight. There's always an oppositional force. So, like, you can whine and cry all day about how the SJWs are taking your games away, but you just need to go play different games. The ones that are made for you and your people.
I just think it is kind of sickening how much of an influence SJW culture has had on games.
It
like,
is.
So many characters, like, and Devil May Cry, like, if you look at their new characters, like, they tried to go for more of, like, a realistic approach. And the girls look like fucking shit. Have you seen them?
No, I haven't.
It's like a meme on 4chan.
I mean, the girls always look
like
like shit in Devil May Cry. Trish was ugly as fuck.
Yeah, they made her look like an ogre.
Trish was always ugly as fuck. Like, I think that, like, I just think that, like, a lot of it is people are just angry because they feel their identity being threatened. And then they feel the need to overstep in the other direction, and it makes them just as annoying as the original people who were complaining.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, in the case of Goblin Slayer has been huge on A for a long time. Like, the manga has been posted on A for probably a couple years now. And people love it because they love tabletop games. I get that. College dudes love tabletop games. I hate tabletop games. And no one's ever going to convince me to like them because I don't like people. And that's like the core of it. Mm-hmm. Like, a tabletop game is you get together.
It's an excuse to hang out with your buddies.
Right.
Like...
And people, like, okay, there was a comment I saw in the video that was like, said, like, nobody in the PCP really likes tabletop games, which is a shame because, like, you know, like, I'd love to see them. Like, I honestly think if the PCP did a tabletop game, it might be fun, but we wouldn't do Dungeons & Dragons. We'd just make up our own. We're 6 creative people. We don't need to follow someone else's stupid rulebook of generic fantasy shit that is not interesting, you know? We could just make up our own world with its own rules and our own characters. And, like, I mean, that's what Endless War is, basically. Endless War is a game being played.
The existence of Endless War is kind of like...
Yeah, it's a meta game that half of the fucking PCP is playing.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't need to play D&D because D&D is played by... Okay, everyone I've ever met who loves D&D seems like somebody I never want to be around, you know? And, like, I know that a lot of my audience probably loves it, and maybe you guys are different.
I like D&D.
Do you really?
I've played it before, and I don't go out of my way to, like, do it, and I haven't played it in a while, but, like, I don't hate it.
Well, when you were playing it with that group you were playing it with, you didn't exactly make it seem fun.
There was a lot of teeth pulling. Like, it was really kind of stupid how the group I was playing with got, like, really into the drinking scenarios, and, like, it went over the top, and we didn't actually go and do missions. We just, like, spent time in a bar doing ridiculous things, and it's like,
That sounds totally lame.
Yeah, and it's like, it's obvious, like, none of you guys even drink, because, like, first of all, I brought over liquor, and nobody's drinking. Why are we, like, imaginary drinking in this game?
So stupid.
That's why that particular group didn't work.
Well, did you ever have a group you had a fun D&D with?
I mean, I played with my family once, and it was fun.
What was fun? Was it just fun because you were spending time with your family?
I don't remember. It was a while ago.
The thing about D&D, when I've played, it's always been like, basically go take a nap until it's your turn. Like, because nobody gives a shit about what the other guys are doing. Like, when you have to roll 6 times for some shit, and it's like, no one else is invested in your role. You know? Like, it's your turn. Maybe other people feel... I don't know. To me, it's a game with a shitload of downtime, and I cannot handle downtime, as I'm sure we've all established and become well aware of.
Yeah.
People are, like, say I have a short attention span. It's not even so much that I have a short attention span as that I just need... Like, I know that there's something I could be doing that would be conveying more information to me on a per-second basis, you know? It's like... I am more entertained by my own thoughts than I am by a boring show or a boring game. So it's like, if I'm like watching a show that is not engaging my mind, then I just feel like I'm trapped, you know? And
That's fair.
Huh?
That's fair.
Yeah, do you feel that way? Like, watching Shinsekai Yori literally hurt. Like, it was a lot. I was, like, clawing at the chair, like, can I please do anything else? Because, like, I have to pay enough attention to this to retain it. But, like, it's not making it easy on me, you know? But, yeah, like, the beginning of Goblin Slayer is so boring. It's, like, the character is just, like... She immediately off the bat, they're just like reading you off this whole system of like how the stuff works. There's like, if you're a high level player, you're gold ranked, and there's also silver rank, and you're a porcelain rank because you're a new player. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like, why are we going through this right now? You know. So I guess that was all you had to do, is go to that part of the fence.
Yep.
Well.
He's gonna give me a disc. Oh, I know where that goes.
Anyways, point being that if someone is just parroting the things that I think and feel, then they are not worth listening to. And you shouldn't care about my opinions if it's obvious that I just feel differently from you. Like, I am not obligated to anyone to have a well thought out or correct opinion about anything. I do not consider that part of my job. I do not take any responsibility for the anime community at all. Like, I'm not a part of it, and I don't want to be a part of it. Like, I have...
Why? I didn't...
Like, it's not that I don't care about anybody, but, like, I have my people, you know? Like, here's the amount of anime community participation I do. I go into my own Discord and don't even read the anime discussion tab in my Discord. I just read people's responses to my own videos. And, like, I don't watch anime unless it's something that I actually care about or I think I can make a video out of. Mm-hmm. I just don't know why anyone would, like, would do this thing. I don't know. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about people parroting the opinions of online people?
I mean, you can say the same for politics, you can say the same for anything.
Yeah.
There's just people who are not confident enough in their own cognitive abilities, so they jump ship on somebody else because they want to be a part of something, right?
Yeah.
And you can tell those people from a mile away, because you can call them out on it. It's like, hey, you're not thinking for yourself at all. Like, why do you feel this way? And then they, like, fucking backtrack for half an hour.
It's like some people will tell me, like...
It just, kind of confirms the NPC philosophy.
Yeah. People will tell me like, oh well, it's really annoying having to deal with people who are parroting your opinions when you didn't even like think out what you were saying that much. And I'm like, you know what's annoying to me?
Suspicious.
Having to listen to everybody like this garbage and care about it. What's annoying to me is the fact that anyone gives a fuck about Goblin Slayer. That is catastrophically annoying to me.
Yeah.
What's annoying to me is that never once in an anime season has the show I cared about been the one that anyone talks about, and therefore I literally can't have success on YouTube talking about the shows that are actually good. Remember last season when, like, High Score Girl was, like, my favorite show, and no one was watching it, and the people who did watch it all thought it sucked because they didn't like the 3D art?
And then the thing got canceled, like, well, it ended, like, during the show.
I don't know if it got, like, we never confirmed whether this was because of the anime, but the manga did end during the show's run, which usually means the show bombed so hard or didn't support the sales of the manga enough, and so they killed it. So, like, clearly, I was the only one who gave a fuck about High Score Girl. Even though I kept praising it every week, it didn't seem to generate any hype in the Anime of the Week videos. It just seemed, and not, like, granted, there were ways I could have approached it. I should have, what I would do, if this season something comes out that I end up liking enough to do this, I might make a video just called, like, the best anime of this season, you know, and, like, make a fake out thumbnail or something, like or like what is the best anime of the season, and then have like 3 of the most popular shows in the thumbnail, and it's like none of these fucking things, and then I talk about the thing, because it would work.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I've said before, my girlish number video got a lot of views just because I called it anime of the year, and if I hadn't done that, I don't think anybody would have cared. But
yeah, if you called it girlish numbers, like.
And by the way, Jeff stole this technique from me as well.
Yeah.
He took the... I mean, I told him
I don't think stealing is the right word. He's just like, it's just...
Okay,
he
well, the thing is that in the... I mean, I know I accused him of this in that infamous video, and then he, like, fired back with, you don't have any proof, bro, but, like, that motherfucker took a lot of my fucking ideas. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of things that I did, and then mysteriously they started happening in the Spaceman videos.
It's
and
true.
I think the reason is that I think from his perspective, it was just that he was learning the techniques, because I don't think he appreciated that I was coming up with those techniques. Like, that I was not learning those from somewhere else. It's not like this was just the biz and I was just doing what I had been told. Like, I just figured things out, you know? But I understand why it would maybe not feel that way, you know? But, like...
how are you gonna use Thunderbolt in my man time?
In any case,
that was going on.
because he did that with his Rakugo Shinju video. He did like, what was the best anime of last year? And it was like 5 different popular shows, and like Rakugo was one of them, but not one of the others. You know, it's like, yeah, okay. I see that you've done the thing that I made a thing. Anyways, So yeah, I want to I'll probably do something like that, but it's like, it's so frustrating to me that I have to watch like the entire, like every season on Mal. I can see what the Western anime fandom cares about, you know?
And
you
it's
can
embarrassing.
look at the top, yeah, and it's always fucking embarrassing. It's always sad and upsetting when it's like, what was it last season? Attack on Titan season 3, Overlord season 3, Tokyo Ghoul, whatever, which seems to be like airing, like it seems like every season there's a new season of Tokyo Ghoul. Is it not just a continually airing show, or what? Like, did they just change the name of it every season? Or am I just confused? Because it seems like there's always Tokyo Ghoul.
I don't know. I think there's like things that sound like Tokyo Ghoul that aren't Tokyo Ghoul.
Maybe. What was the big new show last season? Was there anything new that was big? I don't think there was. I think last season was
Overlord.
just sequels, and nobody gave a shit about anything else.
I can't believe.
Oh, there was like how not to summon a demon lord. Like, because it was an acceptable isekai, it was the biggest show of the season.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Where, like, people are so desperate for familiarity that they'll take a decent isekai over like something that's just an actual original thought, you know, or that has charm and character. High Score Girl was so good. I don't understand why people don't like it.
Because they suck. I'm gonna fucking die. I'm gonna lose this fight.
And then have the nerve to tell me, I don't want to have to hear people parrot your opinions on Goblin Slayer. I don't want to have to hear anyone's opinion on fucking Goblin Slayer. Fucking Jesus Christ. But I will milk them goddamn views out of it. We do live in a society. It's very unfortunate. Anyway, that's enough about Goblin Slayer.
Thank you.
I wanted to get my big cum.
I know.
For you know, for my masterpiece, my trilogy. What's been going on with you? You have any thoughts lately?
Thoughts?
Yeah, THOTS. You have any thoughts lately?
I've really just been thinking about this battle that I'm currently in and how I'm getting my ass kicked and how I was like, oh yeah, I grinded up.
Oh yeah, well I mean this guy's like level 40 and your guy's like level 35. They're 45.
Yeah, it's just
35.
That's how this game works.
I don't understand. Like, do they just expect you to do a crazy amount of grinding?
Well, you're
or
supposed to like be constantly having like the shadow Pokemon like on your team. So like you're probably supposed to have Entei on your team.
Uh-huh.
Like they gave you Entei to use him.
But like, I mean, Entei was like an almost impossible catch at that point. Like, surely they didn't balance the game around.
Yeah, no, she has Suicune.
What the fuck? Okay,
yeah.
So is this like a really important battle then?
Yeah, I'm gonna lose it, but that's okay.
You just gotta come back with Entei and burn that Steelix.
Yeah, I'll come back with Entei and Hitmontop.
Hitmontop!
For whatever reason, I was just like, I can use Swablu. Swablu will be good for this fight. I level 33 Swablu. He won't get his ass kicked immediately.
Well,
the Steelix is definitely, I was not expecting the Steelix.
Steelix is a big boy. Oh my god, it's Suicune! Oh shit, she's pissed off about the Suicune.
Yeah.
Fucking Hillary. Oh boy. So... Oh yeah. I remember something I wanted to talk about. And it has to do with how I was having realizations about myself as an artist. And what it is that how to communicate my thoughts artistically in ways other than YouTube videos. Because I feel as though the style of writing that I do, I feel I have mastered. And what I mean by master is not that I can do it the absolute best out of anybody, but that I can do it as second nature without thought. Like, I've reached a point, I've probably spent 10,000 hours writing. I can write analytical reviews in my sleep.
10,000, the magical number. Like,
yes.
Once you reach 10,000, you've mastered something.
Exactly. That's what it says in the scientific journal that is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Anyways, I've spent a lot of fucking time writing, and you've seen how it is now. Like,
I have.
It's not a matter of like, this takes longer to write than that. No, nothing takes me long to write anymore. It's like, there's nothing. No amount of thought I put into something, no amount of, like, how difficult should this subject matter be, it doesn't matter, I just write fast. Like, I've reached that point in my life, I can't write slow anymore. I wrote, like, an hour and a half of Steins Gate video analysis in, like, a day.
Yeah. And
it was well thought out. It wasn't, like... It was not rushed. It felt complete. It felt like as good as anything I've written, you know? Mm-hmm. I just write that fast now. And, like, these I Am Games videos, like, I usually turn around in, like, 45 minutes, you know? I just can write fast. And so, like...
Okay, should I put Hitmontop or Feraligatr in my team?
Feraligatr. He's way the fuck stronger than Hitmontop, right?
I don't think it matters that much.
I mean, for alligators, like, the guy. Like, if he has surf, you just use surf on everything.
Yeah, but that's so boring.
But it's also good.
You're right. Alright, I'm putting these guys in the front.
Is Ledian gonna be a
Ledian
guy?
is fine. Ledian's the strongest Pokemon on my team right now, besides Entei.
That's incredible.
That I just got.
So, so I feel like as a writer of analytical videos, I've reached the height of what I can express, which is not a huge range of things. It's like, I can write about analysis, I can write about my reactions to things or opinions of things, but like, there's not a huge amount of like my overall thoughts and feelings that can be conveyed through that medium. I feel as though I've done what I can there, you know?
Yeah.
And
you can use the F.
in the medium of YouTube videos in general, like, I kind of felt that way after the Gecko Estate vlogs, that like this was me just kind of pulling out all the stops on like what I can do to express my emotions and thoughts that can be expressed in a vlog. Like, anything that I could do using my house as a set, using myself as the main character, using the medium of just speech, of just ranting into a camera, like, everything I could do with pacing, with shot composition, with timing, with directing, with music, like, I basically did all of my ideas. And I felt pretty... I feel like I can just do YouTube on autopilot now. YouTube doesn't require thought anymore because there's none of the other emotions that I have that I feel like I need to express, or the other thoughts and feelings that I have can be expressed in this medium. Like, there's only so much you can do with these parameters, and I feel like I've reached the outer walls of that. And, like, I can still express, like, you know, minutia. Like, no two videos are exactly the same. But, like, it's gonna be diminishing returns from here on out. On, like, how much newness I can eke out of a YouTube video. Or a podcast, or a Let's Play, or whatever. You know, like, I still enjoy doing them. And I think that there's a fun in something like the live stream show, which I haven't done a ton of live streams. And it allows for more, like, in the moment events, you know, like, it's not all just about like what I could come up with. It's more like what happens to go down. You know,
what is over here?
The tenor of the stream changes considerably depending on what time it is, what people are there, what food we've got, what game we're playing. Like, lots of things affect it to make it feel subtly different, and they're also really comfy. But like, it's never going to be a hugely new expression of some crazy idea no one expected from me, you know? So I feel as though I'm trying to move on to the next thing. And, like, now is the time to do it because YouTube is autopilot. Because it's so easy. Because I can just knock scripts out in, like, you know, in half a day. And knock the editing out in half a day. And be done. And then I have time to work on other shit. But, like, the idea of how to express these other thoughts and feelings I have has always been the difficulty, because there's like 5 or 6 mediums that most people think of. Like, people think about movies, they think about comics / web comics, they think about games, they think about, you know, animation. But, like, there's a lot of different ways you can express yourself even outside of those mediums exactly. And I don't think that any of those mediums by itself, or books is another one, and like, none of those by itself captures enough for me. So I was trying to write some books throughout the course of August and September. I wrote the first couple chapters of a story called Yggdrasil's Panopticon, which is very cool, because it's about psychic time travel.
Yeah.
Not about actual time travel, but psychic time travel. And I'd still love to do something with the concept of it, because it's super cool, but I just couldn't think of a good enough plot, and I just didn't really as I was writing it, it felt very light novel, and it felt like very young, and I didn't want to write something young.
I thought you were writing it as a light novel, though.
I was, but it just, as I was writing it, I realized I didn't want to do that.
Oh my god.
Because it felt like it was written for, like, I felt like people would appreciate it, and people would think it was cool, and, like, it would be as good as a good light novel, but I just felt like I wanted to express something a lot bigger than that as my, like, debut, you know? Like, I could do that as an offshoot project. So I think I wanted to do it because I wanted to try something safer, because, like, I was in the mindset of, oh, well, this will be my first, like, real light novel. So, like, let's try to do something that'll be kind of simple and easy. And then as I started writing it, I was like, this is not enough of a challenge to myself to actually want to do it, you know? Because, like, the characters are so straightforward and so young. Because, like, the biggest reason to write, and I'm going to tell you this right now, I think that the reason that, like, literature is so much more respected than, like, YA literature is that the reason YA is easy to write is because kids have less complicated lives. So, like, just straight up, if you want to write something where you just want to get your ideas for a story out there, but you don't want to have to think about, like, all of the different ramifications of what you're doing, then you make young characters because they have so many parameters that are already defined. So, like, in my story, my main character was a 14-year-old girl. It's like, you know, she goes to school. You know, if she has regular parents, then it's just like I just kind of gave her a regular life. Yeah. Now, granted, like, you can make young characters who have more complicated lives, but, like, it's a very easy shortcut to just be like, yeah, I'm 14 and I'm normal. And so, like, the only things that I have to worry about are what are relevant to the story. Whereas if you try to write an adult character and you don't address their entire life, it's gonna feel fake, you know? So, like, that's why adult stories are usually way more complex and just have more moving parts to them.
Because the characters themselves are more complex. They usually have an understanding of how the world works within a certain framework. Like, maybe they work as a finance manager and understand the economy and, like, think in terms of that. And with the kid character, all you have to do is, like, the kid likes to have fun. Yeah. And hang out with the friends.
Like, yeah. And, like, granted, I think that a lot of people are very... I think that if you're somebody who only wants to read adult fiction, you look down on, like, young adult stuff or children's lit, it's like you're just basically ignoring that it's the same thing, just a less complicated version. Like, an adult story is just like 10 YA stories in one. Because a YA story is just usually fixated on one thing. It's like, this is the theme.
Suicide.
Like, let's come up with a plot that will convey a theme, and then just insert a basic ass character into that plot, and that theme will be conveyed, and then teens can read it and go, now I appreciate this theme. And, like, an adult story is just like, we have to incorporate 30 themes, you know? But, like, ultimately the root to the theme is basically the same. You're just trying to make it all work in the same story, which can be very impressive. But, like, most adult stories, they just try to be realistic, and that's kind of boring. That's kind of how I felt about when you were describing that Pachinko book to me. I was like, this sounds like a big quotes good story, because all you have to do to make a good story is to just write about reality. You know, just, like, write real characters going through real life events that you can really imagine someone having.
Yeah.
And people will say, wow, this story felt so real. It's good. But, like, to me, it's even more impressive if you can do that in the context of a totally fabricated scenario. Like, if you can create realistic characters in a world that is nothing like ours, but we still follow their train of logic and, like, what's going on, then I think that's more interesting.
I think in Pachinko, the most interesting thing was, though, that it was, like, taking place in Japan from a Korean perspective.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what made that book unique.
Like,
I just mean the story itself. Like in terms of, like, the appeal of the story is the time and place, but, like, the characters and what they experience are just, like, human drama events.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And a lot of it just very dark, so that you'll feel like,
it's
oh man,
edgy. It was definitely edgy.
Life is dark and shitty.
And everybody
you know?
kills themselves for no reason.
Yeah. So So anyways, like, so I tried to write this Yggdrasil's Panopticon. I kind of felt like it was a little bit too childish, and I wanted to write something a little bit more adventurous. So then I started working on Reala 3, which Digi Bros fans will remember is my story about a world where there's people who wear like these glasses that let them see 3 different versions of reality. There's like base reality, then there's the VR overlay on everything, and then there's also like a supernatural reality that you can see. And the way I approached it was that I created a character that has 3 split personalities, each of which is like especially interested in one of those 3 layers, but in like a really unique way. I don't want to spoil any more than that. I wrote a few chapters of it, which are good. I was quite proud of my Reala 3 chapters, but I kind of ran up against the wall when I was like, well, I feel like I gotta make one that's like a little longer, because like most of them were just a couple pages, and like they're all just like vignette stories. And then I was like, maybe I should make a story that has like some substance to it so people will get invested. And then I was like, I don't want to do that. That sounds boring. So what I realized about myself as a writer is the way I approach things, the way I fabricate universes and worlds is much like the way I think. It's very circuitous. There's lots of, it's like going around a cloud. I guess I would call it shandified. Like, I think like Tristram Shandy, the book. If anybody has never seen the video, The Shandification of Fallout, I know I've talked about it 1,000 times. My favorite Mr. B-Tongue video. Don't die. But like, part of the point of that video is he's talking about how video games give you the allowance to explore elements of a story that are irrelevant to the central plot at your own pace. And so, what I want to do is to create a story where you can really explore it however...
It died.
Where, like...
You have to restart.
Oh, boy. I have to restart the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, this mouse doesn't work right now. You grab that keyboard over there?
Yeah. God damn it.
I want to create, like, a universe and characters that you can explore your own way. That, like, all of the components will be there, and there will be parts of it that are more of like, you know, that you'll engage with in a way that feels more fulfilling, so that you'll get the emotional hook at least at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. But like, the point of it is not going to be to tell a central story. It's going to be for you to explore all these different stories inside of this world to get your own bigger picture of what's going on. And like, you could read these individual stories and they will work as their own thing. But like, if you were to consume all of it, it would continue expanding your understanding of this world and the people in it. So a great example, and like this is a huge influence for me, is Mass Effect, which is talked about in the Shandification video, where he talks about how, you know, when you get onto the ship, then you can just go down random alleyways and talk to random people and learn their stories, and like, all of it is at least tangentially connected to what's going on. But like, with Mass Effect and other games like it, there's much more of like a stratification between like, here's the main story, and then here's all the other bullshit. And all the other bullshit is all way more interesting than the main story.
Yeah.
Like, the main story in Mass Effect in any of the games is, I don't give a fuck at all. And that's why I don't like Mass Effect 3, not just the ending, but like the whole game, because it puts so much emphasis on the central narrative. And like, the central narrative was never interesting to me in Mass Effect. It was all the other shit. So like, basically I just want to build a story where it's like all side quests, where there is no main quest, because I don't like the idea of the main quest, you know? So like, but to do that, I don't want it to be limited to any one medium. It's like, it's not just a video game that's entirely comprised of codex entries, because a video game can't do every medium. It can't do every style I want. But what it can do well, and the reason that I will try to make a video game for this universe, is spatial relations. Because a lot of the way that I think is in spatial relationships. I think a lot about like where things are relative to each other and why that matters, and like a lot of it is going to be about, like, the story is kind of about city planning. The story that I've got in my mind. It's about, like, the idea of it takes place in an underground city, and the idea is that it's about the people who live there trying to, you know, constantly reconcile their differences and build a world where everybody is functional and happy. But it's in a town where everyone is a fucking weirdo. So it's like, as opposed to a normie hive mind where everybody just does and thinks the same thing, it's a place where everyone has radically different thoughts and needs, and how can we build a city that works for those people, you know, without letting anybody go unspoken for. And so, like, that's kind of the theory behind the story. But, like, there's so many different ways to explore that, and so many different aspects of these characters' lives, and, like, how they need to be fleshed out. And, like, there is no central narrative. It's just learn about these people and let's see what's going on in this town. So I storyboarded a comic. I storyboarded a 13-page comic. I'm really happy with how the storyboards came out. It's probably the best visual art I've ever done, because by storyboard I mean I drew it to the best of my abilities, of which there are very little.
I think you did a really great job. I really liked all the dynamic poses and, like, just...
Yeah. Well, that's what, like, was important to me, was, like... Because, again, what I care about is spatial relations. I cared about the panel layouts. I cared about where were the characters in relationship to each other, or, like, what angles are things happening, like, viewed at. But I can't draw, because I don't like drawing. Like, I like creating the space. But that's why, like, as it goes along, you'll notice that, like, the most detail that I drew was in ones where I was, like, really trying to get a specific angle. Whereas, like, some of them, it's like I figured out the angle and then I just slapdash put a face on there. And, like,
hey, man.
You know, everything looks jank as fuck, but you can see where the vision was. And that's why it's a storyboard, because I was like, you know, as long as I can convey the part I care about, I don't care about doing the actual drawing or, like, making the characters look good.
Should I have Feint Attack or Bite? They both have the same power. Feint Attack just has 100% accuracy, or Feint Attack always hits, and Bite may cause flinching.
Keep Feint Attack.
You want Feint Attack?
I feel like the 100% accuracy is good.
Yeah, I do too. It also, like, hits through Protect and stuff.
That'd be good against, like, especially because you're always fighting higher level enemies than you, like, who would probably have high evasiveness.
I mean, you only have high evasiveness if you, like, put down double team, but you know. I like that it hits through Protect and Detect.
Yeah.
It's using Feint Attack instead of Bite. That's awesome.
It wasn't until, like, maybe when I was playing X and Y that I actually, like, realized that moves had power and accuracy ratings in Pokemon. I did not know that most of my life.
That's interesting.
Literally, I played these games so mindlessly growing up. Like, I literally just, like, picked my starter and just blew through the game, and I had never given any further thought to them than that. It's really funny to me, because every time I see somebody else playing Pokemon, I learn something new about Pokemon.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, this franchise that I was obsessed with for 4 whole years as a kid. But again, I was almost more into the card game and the anime than the video games. Anyways, what the fuck was I talking about? Spatial relations or something?
You were talking about just, like, your storyboard for your comic, and how your favorite part of it, and, like, the part you were trying to convey the most was, like, how the comic should move, how you should read it.
I had a certain idea of, like, the pacing of it, the feel of it.
Did Surf really, like, not do anything?
Because, like, it's a story that...
No.
The way that this story is made the most sense to be told visually, and I based a lot of it. Should I say who the planned artist of the comic is?
No, make it a surprise.
Okay.
Make it a surprise.
So
Nobody should know that Tom's doing it.
That's fucking hilarious. Yeah, the way I structured the comic was around what I thought the artist would be able to make look good, and like so it's like based around this idea of like what's a highly visual conceit that I would not be able to put into words. Like if this comic, if I tried to write this as a book, it would not have nearly the same meaning, you know?
Yeah.
Like the way that it is, like almost entirely the meaning is conveyed through facial expressions, through the specific ways that things look, and like the panel layouts and stuff. So like the way that time is managed across the panels is very important to me. Like I cared a lot about the sense of how long the events were taking as conveyed by the panel size, you know? Which is why there's a lot of big panels, because there's a lot of parts where it's like one thing that's supposed to be going on for a while is like just one huge panel, so you really have to soak it in and it feels like it's happening for a little while, you know? Anyway, yeah, I put a lot of thought into the paneling.
Yeah.
But the actual art is dog shit, so that's why I'm gonna pass it on to the artist who can make it like readable and people will actually appreciate it. But and then you
may have to restart the game.
I have plans.
We shall see.
Oh, it's gonna kill them both.
Probably.
It's gonna definitely kill them. Didn't kill Steelix.
Nope, Steelix. Yep, we have to restart.
All right,
motherfucker. I remember Suicune giving me a hard time. I remember Raikou giving me the hardest time.
So have you done this? Have you caught them all before?
No, I think I've only gotten up to Raikou. Like when I played this as a kid, I think I only got up to the Electric Lab.
Yeah, so I am indeed planning to make a game using RPG Maker, but I'm waiting before it goes on sale because RPG Maker is $80 normally and $25 when it's on sale. And there's no need to like rush in because like you know,
you said Russian.
The more time I wait, the more I can plan and get things, get other things done before I jump into it. I might have to do this sometime soon, like, because we finally, now that we've done the Denzel Curry show, there's not a lot on the calendar that's like my August, it's funny, not August, October. The October calendar that I've drawn, I'm looking up at it right now, there's stuff on most of the days, but it's all stuff that only takes like, it's all like temporary stuff. It's like do an I Am Games live stream or like 2 weeks review, stuff like that. Just stuff that isn't like a ambiguous amount of time, because if I write something like get this video done by this day, it's like that is so ambiguous as to how much time that video is going to take up. Like how the crosscode video I thought was going to be done by the end of last month, not realizing just how fucking long crosscode was and how much effort it was going to take to actually beat it, which is why it's still not out, because I still haven't beaten it.
How many hours have you put into it?
I got like 36 or 7 hours.
When was the last time you played Crosscode?
It's been a few days. I have not had the time because there's been a lot of other shit going on. I mean, again, yesterday we went to a show, and going to a show is kind of like you just kind of dedicate your day to it,
That's it. That's all you're doing.
Yeah. So, but now that that's over, I think I'm gonna have to take like a couple days at some point in this month to just do like nothing but re-uploads and maintenance. Like the hardest thing about doing internet videos as a career, especially when you do as many of them as I do, is just keeping up with all the shit. Because there's constantly videos getting taken down, or that need to be moved, or re-uploaded, or like, backroom stuff that has to be done. Changing, like, lots of the time you could change the titles and thumbnails on a lot of videos, or like there's just so much shit that I could do to just like optimize everything, and I really want to, but it's always like, for instance, I want to upload like basically everything from the Turntable channel onto After Dark at some point. Like, I've been saying I was going to do that for months, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So, like, I want to do that. I want to, like, re-upload all the commentaries that are missing for patrons. Reorganize my Patreon rewards, which I was supposed to do last month. Just a lot of shit has to get done, and it's not easy to do all that when you're also just trying to make content. And, like, for me, the most exciting thing is always making a new thing. It's never exciting to just continue working on an idea you had before, or to, like, refurbish it. It's really funny to me, though, because I realize that there are so many artists who will, like, who really care about each individual product they've made. That they'll, like, re-release it a decade later, remastered, you know? Or, like, continually tweak their thing and, like, go back to it. And, like, it's especially fascinating with, like, music, because I feel like since they end up performing those songs over and over again throughout the years, they have, like, a different perspective on it. It's like they've continued interacting with this thing that maybe they wrote and recorded in, like, a week originally, but, like, now that they've been playing it for years, they've had to, like, really come to terms with it. And, like, I understand why they'd want to tweak it, you know? By the way, Vileplume's death in this is brutal.
Yeah.
But, like, in my case, it's like most of my videos are, like, I don't go back and watch them for the most part. Like,
many of them are too long. Like,
very occasionally I will go back and look through, like, some of my biggest videos, and usually I just find a bunch of problems with them, and I'm like, well, you know, I don't want to think about this being real anymore. But, like, I have a ton of legacy content that's just like even though Asterisk War Part 12A and 12B came back, 12A is, like, kind of fucked up for some reason. Like, it won't play for a lot of people, including me, and I don't know why.
That's weird.
I've got stuff like the new Fooly Cooly video that just instantly got pulled off of YouTube. It's not available anywhere right now, you know? So, like, but it's also a question of, like, where do I even put this shit? Because Google Drive removes my stuff. And, like, I would have put it on BitChute, but I was trying to make my BitChute be where the commentaries go, but there's no way to make something just unlisted on there. It's either private or it's out, you know? So it's like, I can make a channel, I guess I have to make multiple channels, one for, like, Patreon videos and one for not. It's just a lot. It's a lot of things to figure out when I'm excited to do new shit instead, you know? But I'm really proud of myself for storyboarding that comic, because it felt like the most legitimate creative venture I had done in, like, an eternity. Because even my music, like, aside from, I think I talked about this recently, that, like, aside from the Unknown Tape, most of it is other people's beats, you know? Or even if I do make the beats myself, they're mostly sample based, you know? Like, it's not just me creating something from scratch. It's like, it's usually someone else made a beat and I just threw vocals on it. And, like, that's still cool and good, but, like, it's not the same as just, like, creating something from scratch, you know? That's, like, my characters, my universe, only communicating things that, like, if it's someone else's beat, then, like, half of the expression is already done. And, like, I think there's a reason that my music has kind of a limited range of emotions portrayed in it. Like, a lot of my music is very egotistical, because most of it's rap, and rap naturally lends itself to that kind of egoism, you know? Not that you can't do more fragile raps, but, like, what beats am I rapping over, you know? Like, the most fragile sounding rap I probably ever did was I Want to Wake Up With You For The Rest Of My Life, and even that one's kind of hype and, like, aggrandizing in a way, you know? But, like, the kind of music that I used to write in my head when I was younger was not like that at all. It's all sing music. It's all rock music, you know? And, like, there's tons of rock songs that I would produce instantly if I knew how to use instruments, you know? There's this song that I've been fucking toiling over since I was 16 that I sing all the time, as you can attest to.
Yes.
That, like, it's just literally stuck in my head. You ever had a song stuck in your head that didn't exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, like ones that you made up?
Yeah, like just like things that I'd sing in the shower, like rhythms that I'd come up with in the shower.
Yeah.
I used
have
to
a
sing
couple
a
of
whole lot more in the shower before I started living with somebody else. Like,
You can sing in the shower.
yeah, it's just like you do it when you're alone.
Yeah, more likely. Even when we do the rare instances where one of us starts showering first, like if I'm showering before you, I'll end up singing just while I'm waiting for you.
Yeah,
You know?
I caught it. I did it in the first ball.
Oh my fuck. Well, that was easy.
Yeah, that fight went pretty well. I still have a bunch of Pokemon left too.
Well, damn.
It really depends on who she sends out first.
I kind of like her design.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you thought she was hot.
I don't know if she's hot, but
Nobody's
I like
hot
her.
in this game.
I like the personality that she conveys in her animation.
Yeah, she's like the idol of this town.
She seems like she would be voiced by Yuku Goto. I realize you or Yuko you. I think her name is Yuku Goto. The voice of Mikuru. Not that that's like a good. Maybe not her, but who's that other girl who's like eternally 17? Is her thing. Fuck. Someone will say it in the comments. I'm sure somebody knows what I'm talking about.
Nobody
Kikuko
knows.
Inoue. Kikuko Inoue is like known for playing like big sister characters and like that ara ara kind of like voice, you know, like oh me, you know. But her, like, if you ask her how old she is, she always says 17, even though she's like 50 now. Well,
I want to be eternally 17. I feel so old. We went to the Denzel Curry concert last night, and I just feel beat up. And I wasn't even, like, you were the one who was, like, moshing more than me.
okay, you were definitely, like, hit a lot, though. Like, there's no question that you should feel pretty brutalized. I mean, I usually feel, like, dead after a show, even if I didn't do any, like, intense shit. Like, just the act of standing for, like, 4 hours and thrashing your head around is enough to be pretty exhausting. But, like, we were in the fucking pit. Not just for Denzel Curry, but for fucking, what's it called? What is
Zillikami?
Yeah, but what's they were called, they had the duo had a name. It's, City Morgue. City Morgue was fucking intense. And, yeah, well, we'll talk about that on the 2 weeks review.
Yeah.
We'll save that. We'll save the
If you want to
buttery
hear
good.
about...
If you want to hear the full story of us
Patron.
going to fucking Denzel Curry, but you really don't know Denzel!
don't know Denzel!
Which I'm sure will be like more than half of the 2 weeks review. I'm sure I could eke an hour out of that.
Yeah.
Out of the variety of things. Because for me, the story always begins with as soon as we leave the house. Because there's always like an amount of adventure. Anyone who listens to 2 weeks review probably knows this. Like,
Oh, it's a glider.
like sometimes the lead up to the event is more than the event. Especially, oh yeah, there was something we were going to talk about on this, which I guess we could say for 2 weeks review unless you want to do it on here. Fucking getting tickets.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to complain about.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Do you want to do it or do you want to save it? Because we're over an hour.
Yeah,
and
we
you
are
already
over
caught
an hour.
Suicune, so I feel like I've had a big
I feel like we should stop this after this particular fight.
Alright, so you're gonna.
So,
do you
yeah,
want to do it on this show or on 2 weeks
No,
review?
let's save it for the 2 weeks review.
Alright,
because-
so go on 2 weeks review, you'll hear us rant about how buying tickets. I mean, not that you don't know this, but that buying tickets to any event is a fucking nightmare. And then we'll also review the Denzel Curry concert and the Zoomers. I will say I'll give a little bit of my piece on the Zoomers here, which is that I respect the fact that I feel like the Zoomer generation does a lot more research and knows a lot more about whatever they're doing than my generation or the one before us did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it used to be when I went to shows, it felt like people were just there to go to a show. And, like, I feel like with the Zoomers, they don't do shit they don't care about, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they do a lot more research. They look into what the nature of a thing is. And, like, they really care about the events they attend because money is more important to them than it was to previous generations, you know?
They're just smarter about money because they've been able to see how
badly we got fucked.
Yeah.
And, like, I just think that they grew up in a world where everything is more specific. Like, for us, it's like we discovered that. It's like, because, like, I mean, most of the millennials I know are not, or have seen, are normies. And the normies in our generation have no concept of how complicated the world really is. And I feel like with the millennial generation, there was a much bigger stratification between, like, the normies and the online people, whereas for Gen Z, they're all online people. Yeah. Like, even if you're a normie, you're still a computer nerd who has, like, a way deeper understanding of...
the safe space online isn't really there. Like, you have to kind of exist in both worlds.
Yeah.
There isn't really, like, a place for you online.
Yeah.
Without, like, going outside and, like, making those friends offline and then bringing them online.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, everybody is... like, that generation is just confronted with the bigness of everything right away. Mm-hmm. But as a result, they are more likely to, like, find the specific stuff they care about, which is, like, what I've always been trying to get. Like, I feel like for me, that was my big battle, was, like, why doesn't everyone in my generation, like, why does nobody think this way? Why does nobody try to go out and find the specific things they like? Why does everybody just accept the mediocrity that's in the middle? And I feel like for this upcoming generation, because they grew up with people like me saying shit like that on the internet, and all of them are on the internet, they have a totally different perspective right out the gate, you know? And I'm really happy that that's the direction the world is going in. I wish that I could be showered with recognition and money for having been somebody who was saying this ahead of the curve, but I guess I never put it into a good enough piece of art to have earned that. So I guess I get what I deserve, which is a middle class living in a Boston suburb.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing great.
Yeah,
we're
it's just
doing
good.
Great for ourselves.
It's a lot better than most people in my generation. But we grew up with dreams of being a lawyer and doctor. Instead, a kid with a chopper, hold the cul-de-sac hostage, kill them all if they got to the children of the corn. That's the option of living a lie. Filling your body with toxins, constantly drinking and driving. The aim that arrive in his eye. Then that flame that arrive, the time probably go to the garage. I live inside the belly of the rough, Compton, USA. Made me an angel and angel dust. I'm sorry, I didn't know half the lyrics to that joke I was trying to do.
I don't really know how I feel about that. About you trying to rap a song you don't know the words to.
It's just really I really like the idea of just suddenly going into that dreams of being a lawyer and doctor instead of kid with a chopper. Hold the cul-de-sac hostage. Kill them all if they go on to do it.
Kill them all. Kill them all. Devil man.
Messy. Brace yourself, I'll take you on a trip down memory lane. Alright, I'm like done. But this battle is still going.
It's almost, Jigglypuff's almost dead.
Jigglypuff!
Nicky Puff.
Oh my god, the tears. That looked amazing. I'm really happy about that.
Very realistic effect.
It really cracks me up that, like, I mean, you've pointed out that, like, the Pokemon models are just, like, from the N64 games.
Yeah.
And it's, ever since knowing that, it's like I can't unsee how everything else has way more textures on it than the Pokemon do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how'd they get away with this? Like, why didn't Nintendo / the Pokemon Company let Genius Sonority make such a cheap fucking game? Like,
because they knew if they said, Pokemon, people would buy it.
They just, it's like they were just like, oh, well, we don't give a shit about the console games that cost way more and everybody wants, so we'll just throw them off to some second string company.
They obviously didn't care that much about this.
No. And I mean, like, I've never heard of Genius Sonority. They were established to make these games, and, like, they clearly were not... They just are not a good developer, But it's just, like... It's weird that companies that care so much about attention to detail, like Nintendo and Pokemon Company, would, like, put this IP in the hands of these people. You know,
we're gonna see a Pokemon Detective Pikachu. We're gonna see the truth.
Oh,
Do you
boy.
remember Pokemon Dash? Speaking of like low
I never
quality,
played. That was made by
Pokemon
these
games.
guys. I'm pretty sure that's another Genius
Yeah.
Seniority game. I think I have to look that up.
Well,
All right,
I
everybody,
saved.
that's it for this episode.
Miguel out.
Oh my god, I forgot about